We are live. The Torah portion, Parshas VaYikra, the third book, first Parsha is VaYikra. And God called out. It's a calling. Okay, let's get right into it. V'im nefesh achas techatom. If one person will sin bishgaga inadvertently, unintentionally, me'am haaretz, from the people of the land, achas, by doing one mitzvahs Hashem, from the mitzvahs, the commands of God, asher lo yisas, and that you shouldn't do. In other words, the prohibitions, right? V'ashem, and the person is guilty. They're guilty of doing something that they shouldn't have done, like a prohibition, right? But they did it unintentionally, right? Could have been something about Shabbos, for example, or other mitzvahs, well, right? Oy hoida elav, or the person committed it and then it was made known to them, chatasa, his sin, asher chata, that he sinned, vehevi karbanai, then he shall bring his sacrifice, seiris izim. So this is called a sin sacrifice, and an unblemished izim, which is a female goat, tmimim, that is tmimim is unblemished, nekeva, female. So seiris izim, I guess maybe in itself, but it says female here. It's interesting. Okay, al chata, say for his sin, asher chata, that he's committed. 29, v'samach es yadei, and he shall place his hand al reish chatas, on the head of the chatas. Okay. On the head of the chatas, of the sin offering, v'shachet is a chatas, and he shall slaughter the sin offering, b'makom ha'ela, in the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. So this is a lot of details here that we have that we've already learned, right? The place where that's slaughtered, where the burnt offering is slaughtered, is in the northern part, the north side of the Mishkan. Huh? Mind you. So here's a picture of the Mishkan. This is the north side, is over here. Let's see, here's the holies, right? Here's the altar where the sacrifice is brought. The north side is over on this side. Okay. Other sacrifices, you can bring them in any place. You can slaughter them, but here, the most holy ones are on the north side. Okay, verse 30, Vilakach. And so, as we see again, and only at this point is the kohen come into doing the service. Now, the slaughtering doesn't have to be done by the kohen because it doesn't say kohen, right? But now it says Vilakach kohen, and the kohen shall take midama, after its slaughter, from its blood. So now the kohen, this is where his part of the service enters. Be'etzbai. So he takes with his finger blood, benosan al karnes mizbah, and he'll place him on the karnes, means the corners, translates as horns, but means the corners, like there's horns, as you see in the picture over here, right? There's horns. I'm gonna take pictures, make photocopies of this stuff. Yeah, okay. Remind me. Hello, remind me later. I gotta make photocopies of this. I just have the copies ready and make it easier. Yeah. Uh, welcome, Liba. Okay. So take from the blood, and also al karnas mizbeach, and put it on the corners of the horns, corners of the altar, ha'oila, which is the burnt offering, all right, the one on the outside. Ves kol dama, yishbechel yisoidam mizbeach, and the rest of the blood, afterwards you pour at the bottom of the altar, at the base of the altar. Right. This is things that we've repeated and said previously with other offerings, right? It's called chelba, and all of its fats, yasir, you shall remove. Kasher husar, just as you did remove chelev me'al zevach hashlamim, right? This is a sin offering. Yesterday we learned about the peace offering, right? So as you remove the fats from the offering of the shlomim, the peace offering, the hiktir akayin, and then the kayin will then take its fats and he will smoke it up and put it up on mizbecha, on the altar. That should be a pleasing fragrance to Hashem. The chiper alav, and through this, therefore, there will be an atonement. Chiper, like from Yom Kippur, right? The chipar, I love it, be an atonement upon him. HaKohen, in other words, the Kohen is going to bring for him that person who brought the sin offering, right? Who did an unintentional sin. He'll bring v'nislach, and he will be forgiven. Rashi kasher husar chela me'al zevach hashlamim. We remove the fat of the peace offering. Ka'omar eiz amurim b'shlamim, as it's spoken there about the part that's burnt on the altar of the goat in reference to the peace offering. Verse 32, V'im keves yavi karbonai, and if he's going to bring from not a goat, but now it's a sheep, right? Before we mentioned a female sheep, right? But now, goat, I mean, before it was female goat, thank you. Yeah, female goat. But if you will desire to bring from a sheep, keves is a sheep, yavi karbanei lechatis, that he'll bring his sacrifice sin offering. Nekeva tamima tiyaviana, you should bring an unblemished female. Mesamach is yadei, and should place his hands, right? Put your hands al reish hachatas, on the head of the sheep, which is a sin offering. And you shall slaughter it for a chatas, right? So here it adds something over here. Rashi's going to pick up on it. What do you mean? Why are you slaughtering it? For a chatas. I mean, we just said it is a chatas, right? We just said it's a sin offering. Well, you have to say that. Rashi will say, in the same place where you slaughter the burnt offering. So Rashi says, you shall slaughter it for a sin offering. In other words, the slaughtering has to be performed for the specific mindfulness that it is for the sin offering. In other words, if you get confused and you're thinking of bringing a peace offering, when you slaughter it, right, and in your mind you're thinking you're doing it as a peace offering, it becomes invalid. Because you have to be mindful of the fact that you are doing now purposefully, specifically this as a sin offering, right?
Concept of mindfulness.
This is a concept of mindfulness, yeah. Kavana, and the specific intent, right, for this specific, offering, right, of this specific offering. 34. We're good so far? Okay, v'lakach ha'kayin, and the kayin will take midam achat. It's the same thing. Here's the kayin coming in and saying he's going to take from the blood of the sin offering, betzvay, with his finger, and likewise put it on the corners of the altar, the oila offering, the burnt offering altar, right, which is one outside of the holies, right, not the golden altar, but the copper one. And its blood should be spilled at the foundation of the rest of the blood of the altar. So it's repeating the whole thing, Just now, the difference is that you're bringing a sheep instead of a goat, both for a sin offering. Why does it need to be repeated? Not, Rashi doesn't pick up on this. Like, why can just say, or, why couldn't have just said, bring either a goat or a sheep offering? Could have said that in the beginning. Why does it need to do that? It's a good question. I don't have an answer. Let's just maybe mark this down. Okay. Let's call Chelba. For Rashi, this is not seemingly a question, because in the simple, text, um, seemingly it's not a question. I'm not certain why. Because
What's the address for?
perhaps maybe there's a general principle. Perhaps. Okay, Vez Chelba and its fats, Yosir Kasher Yusar Chelav Kesev. So for its fats, you shall remove it, just as the sheep's fat is removed for the Mezevach Hashlamim from the peace offering. VaYikra Kohen, and the Kohen shall have it smoked up. They should be put on the altar, right? And Al Ishe Hashem for a fire of God. The Chipar Allah Kohen and the Kohen. So actually, here it's adding something. Al Ishe Hashem, right? So we had something added in these verses that we didn't have in the previous one when it came to the goat, right? We had that you had to do it for its own sake, but that could have been added there too, right? Originally, right? You have to do it for the sake of that particular offering, right? That you're bringing a sin offering and not have in mind another kind of offering, right? But here also it adds the words Al Ishe Hashem, on the fires of God. We didn't say that by the goat. Okay. And the Kohen shall bring atonement for him, al chatase, for his sin, that we did say, asher chata, that he sinned, but nisach lein Hashem will forgive him. Right? Let's see Rashi in 35. As the fat of the sheep would be removed, shenisrabu a murav, for its specified parts as a peace offering, were increased over those of the goat. Ba'alya, by the fat tail. Avchata, so here with regard to the sin offering, kishiba, kizba, when you bring a new, which is a female sheep, to una alya, ima amorim, it requires the fat tail together with the other specified parts. So maybe here we have our answer. Remember, we asked, why is it repeated? Could have just said, is because there's something more that the sheep you have to put on the altar that you don't have by a goat. A sheep has a tail, a fatty tail that needs to go. The goat doesn't. So maybe that's our answer. Right? Right. The animal is not the same. So it's not the same thing that's being brought up on the altar. So therefore, and maybe that becomes then our answer. Okay. Continuing in Rashi, Al Ishe Hashem, right, which means on the fires of God, Al Meduras Ha'esh, on the pyres of the fire. Now there's several piles of wood that were, a fire on the Mizbeach, Asuyas L'Shem, that were done for the sake of Hashem. And in Old French, folis, foyalis. Huh? Foil? Menachem Hill, you really have to improve your old French.
I wasn't wrong.
That's what I'm telling you. You need to improve. No, you gotta learn more Chumash and Rashi. Yeah. Okay. Continuing, now we go into chapter 5 and verse 1. Okay. New kinds of offerings. Okay. So when a person will sin, in other words, because he accepted an oath, Vuhu, aid, or ra'ah, or yada, meaning he was a witness to something, right? By seeing or by knowing of something that he's a witness to. And he does not testify, he bears his transgression. So if you know something to be a witness, we just actually learned these laws in Rambam. We just learned these laws in Rambam, right? That if you know testimony to something because you saw or you're privy to knowledge about something and you don't come, you transgressed, right? And here we're speaking about that transgression, right?
Say something.
Well, no, you have to bear testimony in court. If in other words, it's in court. Yeah. Do you mind again? Yeah, you don't mind. Thank you. So let's see Rashi, verse 1. Allah, and you will hear the sound of an oath, meaning something that you are a witness to. Here, the sound of oath means that you are administered an oath to him, whether you know testimony in favor of a litigant, that you should testify for that litigant. Oh, to get you a fob so you can come in. Take the booklet. What page is it?
Page 5.
Is that the same booklet? Or open the. Let me see the front of it. That's a different page on yours.
Okay.
It's a bit different. But we're
That's a different one. Yes.
yeah, it's different from what you had, not than that one.
Oh.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're in chapter 5, verse 1. Chapter 5, verse 1. Okay, chapter 5, verse 1. In the 6th reading. It's around there at least. Okay. So we're okay. So we're talking. Here, give me the booklet. Give me the.
No, I lent him mine.
Okay. Okay. So we're talking about a case over here that a litigant says, you know testimony, right? If I were to say, you know testimony on my behalf, I know you know testimony, and I want you to, to come to court and and the witness accepts the oath by saying Amen. So, but in court, he's saying, I don't know anything.
Oh, so he has to be in court after the Sahaba. As opposed to his saying, I will not testify.
1 second, let me just. So the witness is denying that he knows anything. But so the litigant can make this person take an oath, right? And by taking an oath, he's admitting now. So meaning that
But if he takes the oath and says he doesn't know anything about it.
No, first he denies. Then the litigant can say, take an oath. And then by the oath, right, he answers Amen, or he's even silent according to some opinions. In other words, he admitted that he lied.
Okay.
Right. Now, let's say I'm in court and and Reuven, I say, Reuven, I bring him to court and he denies anything. I don't know anything. Then I said, well, take an oath. That person's now he's frightened. Reuven is frightened by taking an oath, right? So now he said, oh, okay. He lied.
Okay, but then,
right? So he lied. The oath, effectively shown that he lied. The law is now that he has to bring an offering. And that's the offering we're talking about over
then
here.
when he goes to court, doesn't he take an oath?
Huh?
When he goes to court.
This
Is
is
there
no. He doesn't. No, you don't necessarily take an oath. He's brought to court and he says, I don't know anything about the case. Right? He's summoned to court. He's summoned to court and he says, I don't know anything. So the litigant, let's say I'm the litigant who brought him to court, said, well, take an oath that you don't know. On that point, he said, oh, okay, well,
Okay.
I lied.
Because
I lied.
For the Western perspective,
I lied, right? That's the case we're talking about.
Mm.
So now, because of that, he did a sin. He's got to bring a sin offering, right? That's what we're talking about over here. Okay. So again, let's go. The verse says, if a person sins, right, whereby he accepted an oath, right? In other words, he was a witness, right? And he was a witness to some matter by seeing or knowing of it, yet he does not testify. He shall bear the transgression. That's right. So in other words, he accepted the oath after saying that I don't know anything. And then I'm not testifying because I don't know. I didn't see. And then by taking the oath, he accepted the oath, right? Okay. So we're talking about, as Rashi, Shama Kil Allah. He heard the voice of the oath, meaning he accepted the oath, right? B'davar shehu eid by, in a manner that he was a witness. Shehishbiu shvua, that he was then given an oath. Shim yodea la'edis, whether he knows anything concerning the testimony. She'ayid loy, that he should testify for him. That's the case we're talking about. Is that clear? Okay. That's one case. Or if a person touches anything that's unclean, right? Becoming impure, in other words, right? Or he touched a carcass of an unclean animal, which makes you impure. Or with a carcass of a impure animal. Well, one is a wild animal, and one's that's chaya is a wild animal, like a wilde chaya when you call somebody, right? A wild animal. So yeah, that's in Yiddish. And behema, which means just an animal, right? A domesticated tamei that's impure, or benivla sheretz tamei, or with an unclean, creeping, crawling animal. Vinela mimenu, and it became hidden from him. And and it's hidden from him the impurity, right? That he became impure. Ve'ashem, he incurs guilt. He's guilty for that. Is that clear? Okay, let's see Rashi in 2. Or a person who has touched after this impurity, and then he goes to eat. He became impure, and what's the problem? It's not a problem to become impure, by the way, in the times of Holy Temple, right? Right? You can be impure. What's the issue? That if you're impure and now you go to the Holy Temple and you're eating from a sacrifice, right? We're speaking about sacrifices over here. So if a person came and brought their sin offering and they're impure, they're not allowed to bring their offering. You have to be pure to come to the Holy Temple, right? Meaning you have to go to the mikveh. Let's say if you came in contact with, well, as we're saying over here, you were impure. And now you ate kachim, you ate holy food, that it has to be impurity. Or you come to the mikdash, or you just enter into the mikdash, right? When you're not allowed to enter into the holy temple when you're impure. That in such, when you did that intentionally, you would have early death, right? Premature death. In other words, if you were impure and you walked into the holy temple impure, you would get premature death. The Masechta Shavuos, as we learn in the Talmud. And now in this instance, it was concealed from him. He didn't realize he was impure. And he brought a offering, or he came into the holy temple. It was hidden from him. So is he get premature death? Does he? No, because it's unintentional. Only if it's intentional. If you know that you're impure and you anyways came, that's premature, right? But here it's unintentional. He didn't know that he was impure. He didn't realize it. But he incurs guilt. What's his guilt? By eating the sacred food, or by entering into the holy temple. He is guilty for that. And what does he have to do for their guilt? What does he have to do? Has to bring an offering. Has to bring a sin offering, right? Because a sin offering is for inadvertent sin, not unintentional sin. This is unintentional. Okay. Oi, now a third example. So we have an example of you denied witness and then under oath you admitted. Now the example is impurities, right? That you were not aware of. Now is the third example. Or you touch a impurity of a human, of any kind of impurity, that you become impurified. And the important thing is it was hidden from him, as you didn't know it. You weren't aware, either because you were ignorant about the law, or you didn't know that you did that, and you only became aware afterwards. And in the meantime, you ate something, or you went to the base of Migdash impure, right? And then you became aware of it. L'ashem, you incur guilt. Let's see Rashi in 3. We're good. Tumas Adam, human impurity, zu tumas meis. This means that you touched a dead person, right? The whole tumasai, any kind of impurity. The rabbis tumas maga zavim v'zavis. This includes now the touching someone who has a human. In other words, not tsaras. No, is someone who has an emission, like a woman who has blood not in her cycle time, a man who has an emission that is also not a regular semen. That would be an emission. It's an unusual kind. I don't know if that exists exactly. It's a discharge. It's a discharge. Yeah, an unusual discharge. Exactly. That makes a person impure. So Rashi is bringing that each of these words is adding something in the different kinds of impurity. There's what the verse says explicitly and what's implied by the extra verbiage in the verse. That you become impure means to include someone who touches one who had relations with a nida. In other words, a husband, let's say he had relations with his wife and she was in her cycle, mitzvah cycle. So then we're talking about that too. Okay? Through it, this includes if someone swallows meat from a carcass of a pure bird, meaning a kosher bird, but it was not slaughtered properly, right? And therefore it's not kosher. Now the bird is kosher, right? But it wasn't slaughtered properly, and therefore it makes it ritually impure. The ne'alam, and it was concealed. V'lo yada means you don't know. For he had forgotten about the impurity. That's him. Interesting.
What that he forgot?
Yeah, Rashi seems to say that. In other words, you bring this guilt offering only if you once knew it was impure and then you forgot about it. But if you never were aware of the impurity before eating from something holy or entering the base of Mikdash, then you don't bring this offering. So why is that? Because there always has to be a mindfulness, right? To bring this offering, you have to be mindful that you were impure at one point. You forgot. Okay, you forgot, so it's inadvertent. Then you have to bring an offering. But if you never knew that you were impure, so I stand corrected from what I said previously, right? If you never knew, then you don't bring an offering, right? You don't bring an offering. You knew and you forgot. Okay, verse number 4. Oi, now we're giving a fourth example. Nefesh ki sishava levatis fasayim. If a person swears, expressing levate, to express with their lips, lahara, to do harm, or lahitiv, or to do good even. Adam b'shavua, anything that a person will express with an oath, benela mimenu, right? In other words, you express, I'm gonna bring an offering, or I'm going to come and learn Chumash Rashi every day, and you made an oath, right? That's for good, right? Or it could be for something bad. It doesn't matter, whatever, right? And you remember, you know what you're aware of it already, but you forgot. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm going to learn Chumash and Rashi every day. I made an oath. Okay, don't make an oath, guys. Just come. V'hu yada, and then it becomes known to you, right? It was concealed from you. Then it becomes known to you. La'ashem, you're guilty. La'achas me'ela, from one of these cases, right? We got 4 cases. Let's see Rashi. Mitzvah sign by lips. In other words, why does it say with your lips? Because if you made an oath in your heart, then you're not guilty. If you expressed it with your lips, then you're guilty. Right?
Is that the reason why we say bleeding up?
That's because you said it verbally. But if you said it in your heart, you don't have to say bli neder. You don't have to say bli neder, because you didn't make an neder. A neder is only, an oath is only when you verbalize it. How do you know that?
You said it.
No, because the verse just said it.
Oh.
The verse just said b'sefasayim, with your lips, right? You verbalize it with your lips. So from there we know that if you said it in your heart, that's not called an oath. Okay, got it? We got to be observant. Menachem Hillel. Huh? No. Here's observance, not mindful.
Okay, be an observant Jew.
An observant Jew. You got to observe what the verse says. Yeah. Okay. Lahara, to do harm. La'atzmai, to himself. Interesting. Okay. Ola hativ, or to do good, la'atzmai, to himself. Going, for example, I will eat v'lo yechal, and I will not eat. Ishan, I will sleep. V'lo yishan, v'lo not sleep. Right. I make an oath that I'm going to sleep 7 hours every night. Yeah. Something like that we're talking about, right? And then you forgot and you only slept 6 hours. Or you slept 8 hours, right? The whole
Is it necessary for someone to hear you?
No. It's enough that you verbalized it, that you brought, that's a reality that you created in the world. Through that verbalization. Anything that a person will express, this includes even something in the past. In other words, in other words, I did this in the past, I guess. I don't know. But now let me know when it was concealed from him, so then he transgressed his oath. Right? He says he's going to sleep for 7 hours and he only slept for 6. Kolela, all of these oaths are included. The obligation to bring an ascending and descending offering. Why is it called ascending and descending offering? Because it's based on monetary value. In other words, according to the resources you have, that's what means what kind of offering you're going to bring. Called Yerid, Yerid. Meaning up, Yerid down, up, down. In other words, based on your monetary capability, will be greater if you have more financial means and lesser. Okay. As it's explicitly going to say later on, we're going to have in verses 13. Aval shvua sheyesh ba firas mammon, but in an oath that you made that involves denial of money. In other words, let's say a claim was made against Ruvain that he owes Shimon $100 and he denies it, right? Ain't a korban. So this is not this offering over here, elabasham, but rather a guilt offering, which will be later on. Okay. In other words, this is about you expressing that you're like taking upon yourself something for good or for bad, right? I'm going to sleep only 5 hours. Maybe that's bad, right? Whatever. Okay, so we had four different instances. Then it shall be that when he incurs the guilt in any one of these four cases, and then he shall confess his sin that he had committed, because he becomes aware that he did something wrong. Then he has to bring his guilt offering to Hashem over his sin, that he sinned, the keva min a female from the sheep, kivsa, or a female goat for the sin, and he will be atoned. The Kohen will atone for him from his sin. V'im sagia yade deiseh, and if he will not be able to afford a sheep, and he shall bring his guilt offering, asher chata, that he sinned, shtei tzairim, he should then bring two turtle doves, or shnei b'nei yaina, or two young doves, at even lesser value, Hashem for Hashem, echad lechatas, echad leila, both for the sin offering and for the burnt offering. Yeah? Let's quickly. And he should bring them to the Kohen. And he should bring that which is for a sin offering Rishayna first. Malak is Rishai. And if it's a bird, then he should cut off its head with the nail. That's the way the Kohen was slaughtered. Mimul Arpai, opposite the back of the head. Lo Yavdil, and it should not separate. Rashi. VaYikra is Asher Lachatis Rishena, and he should first bring this offering, the sin offering first. Chatas Kedemis La'ela, the sin offering precedes the burnt offering. Lama Davar, what is this comparable to? Levraklin, to an advocate, Shenichnas Aratzis, who enters to the king to placate the king on behalf of someone he's representing. Once the advocate has been placated the king, then you bring him a gift. You got to placate, so you got to bring the sin offering first to placate the king. Then you can bring a burnt offering, which is completely a gift to God because it's completely burnt on the altar, right? It's a complete gift. Do not separate it. He performs malika with the nail of his thumb on only one sign. Eirif, the back, Mimulam, who gave a reish. This is the high part of the head. The shapit litzad tzavar that slopes towards the neck. Mimul eirif, meaning translated at the nape. Mimul areyes eirif, and which faces the back of the head. Kol achuri hatzavar, and this is the length of the entire back of the neck. So over here is where he does the, yeah. Okay, let's finish. Then he should sprinkle from the blood of this sin offering on the wall of the altar. The nishar bedam, and the rest of the blood, it should be pressed on the base of the altar. Yimatse means to press it. Before we said, it's interesting, before we didn't say the word that. We just said to pour it on the foundation of the altar. Chatasu, this is a sin offering. Rashi 9. Sprinkle from the blood of the offering. Ba'ela lahitin ela mitzui. Regarding the Eila offering, the Torah required only squeezing out the blood of achatas, but when it comes to sin offering, you have to do both sprinkling and squeezing out the blood. When we're talking about for the bird, you hold the bird, matis, and you sprinkle adam nitas v'hilach lemizbeach, and the blood gets sprinkled towards the altar. Chatas hu, this is a sin offering. Lishmak shera. Why does it say that? Because you have to do it with the intent that you're doing it for the sake of a sin offering. That makes it valid. But if you don't do it for the sake of doing a sin offering, then it's invalid. Last verse. And then the second offering will be a burnt offering, kamishpat, as its law, and the kohen will bring atonement from his sin offering, that he had committed, and he will be forgiven. Rashi kamishpat kidasa omer ba'ela sa'if shel nadav parsha, as the ritual is in the beginning of the parsha. We had that regarding a burnt offering of the bird, which is brought voluntarily. Well, I don't know what that means, voluntarily. Okay, we have Tanya now, so